I'm going to be heading to Star Trek Las Vegas in about 2.5 weeks. I'm not a big cosplay guy, and I've only been to one real convention before, so this is going to be kind of new to me. But figured I might as well get some props in order, so I got the Wand Company Tricorder. And I am overly curious about what's inside of it, so as you can tell from the title of the video, I'm going to be doing a teardown. This isn't going to be a review or anything. We're just going to take a look at the internals. And as you can see, as of right now, it is fully functional. Sorry, I couldn't help it. When I was looking for the Wand Company Tricorder, I ran into this, which is a Japanese, not sold separately, AM/FM radio, sort of a reproduction. It actually looks pretty nice, and it was less than $100 shipped from Japan. The only reason I bring this up is that if you're going to the con and you're looking for a relatively nice yet inexpensive tricorder, this one's pretty good in my opinion. I mean, it's nothing compared to the Wand Company Tricorder, obviously, but the little disc fell off. I gotta glue that back. But, you know, it's not a bad, second. And I didn't think I was gonna get the Wand Company Tricorder in time for the convention. I didn't even know if it was gonna ship in the United States. Fortunately, it did. Like a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, I received this. And it is in perfect working order. But yeah, obviously not too bad. This one is a little less refined, shall we say, in its construction. But, you know, it would be passable. One thing I want to do, though, in a future video, maybe even before the con, is see if I could get a small OLED screen and sort of upgrade this. I know a lot of people might be distressed by that because I'll be modifying it, and this might be a collectible. I'm honestly not sure. I'm sure people let me know in the comments. But whatever I do to it, I'll make sure it's not a permanent mod, so it can be restored back to its original condition. This did not come new in box. I got it just like this, in bubble wrap. But anyway, my apologies for the ruse in the beginning. This is the real deal. And right off the bat, I am very happy with it. It does have a very premium quality feel to it. This is an 18650. I actually knew it had a replaceable battery from a couple of reviews I watched, and that is awesome in case you're carrying around in the convention or doing whatever you want to do with it, and it runs out of juice. You don't have to wait for it to charge if you get a second one of these, and this is a pretty standard type of lithium-ion battery. I would say even probably the most common type. So I'm seeing one screw there, but that's probably not how to get into it. Nothing in the way of screws behind the compartment. Oh, screws. Haha. Yeah, I guess it's quite probable these side pieces need to come off because I can see right behind this door there's a little piece of plastic sticking through what looks like a metal plate along the side. And you got to be able to take the strap off, right? So let's start there. The screwdriver's a bit undersized, but... Oh, another captive screw. I like that. Oh, nope, not captive screw. It was just hanging on by a thread. The screw in the back cover is a captive screw, though, it looks like. Okay, so now... Ah! It slides down. Oh, yeah, okay. That's easy. And then I assume this one should do the same. Or not. Oh, was the door in the... Maybe this door is in the... Oh, yeah, the door won't close now. So I guess you have to keep this door open in order to get the sides off. That's kind of... I don't know if that was an intentional design, but that's a good, belt and suspenders way of keeping these sides on. You need to undo the screw and make sure the door's out of the way. Oh! The plastic tabs that come in on the side here interfere with these little pins on the side of the door, and that's what keeps the door from swinging out as far as it is right now. Clever. I really don't want to break this. Oh, this back door also has some pins on it, which may as well interfere with these sides from coming down. Okay. So you really have to, splay it open, I guess. But it seems to have slid down far enough. Oh, there we go. I didn't want to force it too much. And then the sides are held captive by the strap, which, interestingly, I mean, I'm sure it's because it's screen accurate. This strap is not adjustable in length, but on the cheap AM/FM radio, it is. I cannot offhandedly remember if there's any kind of buckle or adjustment in the original series on their tricorders. But I'm sure the wand company knows what they're doing. I did already have their communicator, which is quite nice. Oop. Okay. Just going to set the strap and the two side pieces to the side. Oh, I should point out that this just slides out of the side pieces. I'm just going to put it back so I don't twist it around the wrong way. Oh, and it's marked L on that one and R on that one. So I guess if you wanted to adjust the length of the strap to suit you, I mean, I would feel bad about modifying it, but you could punch another hole in here and maybe, I don't know if it would fit, but maybe coil up the excess so that it would still be there if you ever wanted to lengthen it again. Although then when it got lengthened, you'd have a hole that would be visible on the outside. I don't know. Just spitballing. Alright, so I wonder if, can I close these now? I just don't like the idea of the doors flapping around in the breeze while I mess around with this thing. So this must be part of the hinge mechanism for the display and buttons. And then the video and power signals, and I guess all the signals. I feel like that's not enough wires for that to be going straight to the display and the buttons and the LEDs. There's got to be a circuit board behind this, I would assume. Anyhow, I see a lot of, looks like torque screws all over the place. And these two big ones, I guess, go into this crossmember piece. So that seems structural. And it looks like it's going to be a T8 for these larger screws. And the screws are very nice as well. And so this screw probably also has a mate under this wiring, I should imagine, which is shielded by this copper foil tape. Okay, well, let's dig in. And then I would assume the purpose of this grounding lead is just to ground the tape. But under, yeah. Oh man, it's okay. I have more copper foil tape lying around, so I don't really care if I destroy the tape in the process of removing it, because it's not like the thinnest I've ever seen, but it's pretty thin, so it's not coming up nicely. The real question is, will I remember to put the foil tape back when I reassemble this thing? Okay, and that ground screw, it looks like, was also retaining this plastic piece, because there's also two more screws there and there. Fortunately, all the black screws look like they're the same length. I always like when all the screws, or at least as many screws as possible, are the same when doing a teardown, because it makes organizing them and keeping track of what went where much easier, for obvious reasons. Now, is this also keyed in? Because it doesn't want to budge at all, and I think I relieved most of the tape. Yeah, there shouldn't be any tape holding it. There's still some on it, but I figure that'll be easier to get off once I move the plastic piece. Because I definitely have to remove this to disassemble it, because that other screw that I need to get out is under these wires, right where they exit the plastic cover. So I don't want to risk jamming a screwdriver amongst those wires and popping it off that way. Can I see from the inside if it's keyed? Not really. It's not another situation where I have to open the covers. No, I don't think it is keyed, because I don't see any plastic coming through. But then again, it does not want to budge. I mean, if it is keyed in there, maybe I have to remove this plastic first. But then again, it looks like the screw to remove that is under this. It's an order of operations issue. I cannot get that to budge, so you know what? Let me take off this side if I can, and perhaps something will reveal itself. It looks like same size driver for these little ones. I am using a T6 right now. And these are screwed into plastic. They've got nice chunky threads. That one's a little longer. Kind of have to note what screws I'm taking out where, because I'm going to use this video as a guide for myself to reassemble it. Yeah, all the other ones are the same length. And now we've got a little plastic piece here, which is probably, I'm guessing, the hinge mechanism for this door. No. Oh, it rides on this. It's just like a little almost like a spring tension. You can hear it clicking on the door when it hits this. So I don't think I have to take that out. That's not structural. This has a spring, which actuates that way. And I believe, not sure yet, that's to put tension. This is where the mode discs go. And I believe that's to tension these retainer clips that hold those discs in. And then this has got to be the hinge for the display, because of course we saw the wires going through on that side. And at least this should not be spring loaded. And then this piece should pull out. Oop. And now the display is loose, but I don't want to, you know, fold it out or anything because I don't want to damage that wiring. So, whoa, okay. Well, a bit of a surprise, but of course that no longer has anything to hold on to. So the bottom door and the middle door just came out. Now it looks like I was wrong. These retention clips for the discs are held by that spring. So what did this spring attach to? Oh, no, it looks like it was part of that mechanism. It was attached to this, right? So it provided tension to keep that down. Without the spring, it just pops up. I think there's still a spring on the other side, though, because it is moving around on its own. And, of course, the back door comes off also. So this is what we've got right now. Oh, so I'm guessing all the circuitry is in this top piece, and it's actually feeding back down, because this cover just ends at the battery compartment with the USB connector, and then I'm guessing at least 2 of these wires go down to the motor to rotate this disc. And is that, yeah, that does loosen this, but it's still being held on by the wiring. And I think there's a screw right there that's only half exposed. Yeah, that's definitely a screw. Oh wait, there's an indent. Ah, the tape was covering it, but there's an indent in this plastic cover. Haha, so we can get that screw out. I thought that screw wouldn't be removable until after this plastic piece was removed. Okay, now we got the order of operations here. And those are all the standard length plastic screws. But of course the problem here is that I think I've removed all the screws, but this still has the motor for this attached to the wiring harness, so I'm not going to be able to remove that. I feel like this should be the least baffling thing to get out of here, but I really don't know what's retaining that. I'm also now wondering what good it'll do me. Even if I could remove that, I'd still have the wiring harness running through there and there. Unless there's some kind of connector, I would have to start desoldering stuff to actually remove this. I don't think this is going to really give me any answers, but I'm just kind of curious what's under here. Okay, so there is a connector there, and it looks like there's a fairly generous slot machined in this, I'm assuming, aluminum side plate. So I think removing that connector and then another connector down there, you should be able to get the wiring harness back out. And does this PCB pop out? Looks like the PCB is being retained by something other than that plastic cover that I removed. Wait, is that PCB material? This whole section here looks like PCB material. I don't see why it would be, but... Alright, well, let's see if my least delicate needle nose pliers can get that lower connector out without damaging it. Yep. Not a problem at all, so that's out of there. And then this top connector... Oh, that's a long one. That's got a lot of pins on it. There's a couple of pieces of tape there. Now, I'm going to keep this tape because I don't have this exact type of tape in my arsenal. I have a lot of tapes. It's kind of a thing with me. But this is like that cloth tape. It's almost like bandage tape, but black and a little more rugged. Ah, and there we can see the connectors from the other side. Because I think this PCB... Yeah, it does run the whole length of the back here. And there is a screw there and a screw there. I feel like that didn't help me at all, though. Because the circuit board, I believe, would come out this way, and it's one big circuit board that has the USB connector and etc. on it. But the problem is, for me to pull it out this way, I would have to get these wires detached first, it looks like. I think it needs to come out at an angle first. Oh. Oh. See that little blob of solder right there? I believe that is connected to this, connecting the spring to the circuit board. So the circuit board definitely can't pull out that way without desoldering that first. But if they had to solder it in place after this was assembled, that's a good quality soldering job because they didn't melt any of the plastic right around it. And that's a very tight area. So, I mean, I could desolder it, but I'm kind of thinking, can I just wiggle this connector out? That post is kind of in the way. Ah, there we go. All right, and there's the battery compartment and circuit board that goes along with that. Yeah, it's got 3 test points on it. That is tiny. It's TP1, 2, and 3, but there's no way that's going to come out with my overhead camera. And then the other side, we get a whole bunch of other test points. I feel like I'm going to want to take this circuit board out because it's doing something, but it could just be battery charge, discharge control, and that sort of thing. Then again, who knows what's on the other side. Okay, we're making some progress at least. Humorously, I'm still not seeing any way that this is retained, other than a couple, like, looks like locator pins coming through, but I guess maybe they're snapped in there pretty good. I think before I can get this out, I really have to take out this screw under here. So, you know, at the risk of breaking it, okay, well, for all my talk, it was just these pins holding it in, and it was just a really tight friction fit in these holes. So, okay, that makes everything a lot easier. Now I can get to this screw no problem. Oh, I think I broke off one of the pins. I did. I broke off the one on the end right there. There should be one where that little white spot is. That's currently located there. Alright, well, can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs. And now, ooh. Alright, that was part of the mechanism that holds in the mode discs. But now we are getting somewhere. Ooh, there's actually more to it down here than I thought. So can I get the wiring harness pulled back? Pull out the small connector first. Yeah, there we go. Ooh. Now, crap. A couple of pins got pulled out of the connector during all that. Even though I did not use much force here. Alright, well, they click back into place. I'm just going to have to make sure that when I reinsert this connector into the jack, those don't pop back up. And this runs into here. Okay. And then these all go up to the, I want to call it the head unit. And now I can get out this screw. And let's see. Yep. There we go. Not much slack here in the wiring harness, but we actually have a lot going on in there. And the wiring harness goes to a connector that's all the way sort of deep down in there. So we're going to have to dig in more to get that out. Oh, this back piece comes off. Okay. Obviously, that's the motor for the rotating disc in the front. And then we got a whole circuit board here for, I'm guessing, some LEDs. And maybe, yeah, I got to take this circuit board out because I want to see if there's ICs on the other side. But it looks like the circuit board's held on by a screw that's down in there. So this assembly has to come off first, I believe. I think my screwdriver is hitting this connector on top right here. So let me see if I can remove that. There we go. And that's actually a Phillips head screw, or a cross head screw. It's the only one so far. And then there are, the back of that, 3 more tiny screws. I think those are going to have to come out. And these are all going into plastic because they're coarse thread screws. Unless, can I get, oh, I can actually. I think I can get that connector out. Never mind. There we go. Now this is liberated. Nice. But yeah, so in order to get the circuit board out, I gotta get to a screw that's behind this metal tab that's part of this assembly here. Yeah, what else is holding that in? And this board is connected to that connector. I guess I should take that out. Ah, there. Ooh, okay. There we go. So these are two I thought this was all part of one assembly, but that's separate from these. And every single one of those is spring-loaded individually. It's not just the plastic bending that tensions it. That's nice. Very good construction. And this was the tab that was in the way of that screw. So now, should be able to get the circuit board out. It just looks like we have one more connector, I guess, for the speaker. Oh, another Phillips screw holding the motor on. How's that disc held onto the shaft? It's got to be pressed on gently, no? I don't want to force it. What is holding that motor on there? I don't see a set screw or anything. Maybe it's behind the circuit board? We got another really tiny Phillips screw in the upper left corner here. Okay, well now the circuit board's loose, but that's still not giving any clarity as to what's holding the motor in. I almost didn't notice this screw right here on the side. Maybe that will bring some light to the situation. When in doubt, take it out. Ah, okay. Speaker's labeled 8 ohms, 2 watts, by the way. Although, this hasn't brought me any closer to understanding what's holding the motor in place. Well, the motor can turn, you know, a lot now, giving that effect, but... Ah! So, this metal ring is retained on the front by 4 clips. And this disc is just held on the front static, and this disc is attached to the motor, so that rotates. But it doesn't want to pop out easily, at least not without potentially damaging it. Ah! Just a really, really tight friction fit. I was afraid of damaging it. I didn't want to pull too hard, but eventually I just kind of decided to because I didn't see any alternative. And so the motor is a keyed shaft. It's flat on both sides. And that keys into the back of this plastic disc. I mean, there's definitely a gearbox in this motor because the shaft is offset from the center, but yeah, that just drives that directly. And I guess it's either a stepper motor or some other kind of multi-phase motor because it's got 5 connections going to it. I guess I can look up those specs. And there's the disc assembly. And the circuit board. So we've got a connection for the speaker there, a connection for the motor there, and they are labeled to say motor, so that's easy to keep track of. And then this goes to the mode discs, and this goes to the wiring harness to the rest of the device. And the other side, towards the end of the video, I'm going to look at the ICs on these boards more closely. There's only one big IC on here, and big is a relative term, but there are 3 LEDs right around the shaft of the motor, and so the disc would sit above those like that, and that's how it gets backlit. And then as far as the mode disc assembly goes, we got another circuit board here with a small chip. Well, I guess by my earlier definition it would be a large chip. A little bit of Captain tape covering that up. Oh, looks like someone hit it with a soldering iron. Yeah, this is not budging at all. Oh wait, no, it is budging. I lied. I spoke too soon, rather. Ah, there we go. The whole thing... Oh, those are switches. Ah. Well, anyway, yeah, we'll take a closer look at this board. I'm guessing this chip is a shift register or maybe something else just to get all the pins of these switches down to... Well, there's a lot of pins here, though. You'd think it would just be 3 pins, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. I'll investigate that. And that really brings us down to what I'm going to call the head unit, which must have all the logic in it. And it looks like we got a screw here, and then a screw down here on the other side, which can I get to without... No, I'm going to have to move the... I'm going to have to take this out to loosen up the wiring harness to get to that other screw. Okay, and then the wiring harness is kind of let into this whole hinge. So let me pull that back. We got another large slot here to pull this connector back through. And then, yeah, it looks like in order to get that out, you have to push all the wiring through there. I'm going to see if there's a connector, though, on the other side. I just need to loosen this up a little bit. Just get a little bit of slack through there, maybe. So that I can, move this at an angle sufficient to access this screw. And that's it for screws. So I'm guessing the front of this will just pop forward. Maybe. Oh. Oh. SD cards. I forgot there was an SD card slot right there. And this isn't an SD card. This is just a buffer. Piece of plastic. Whatever you want to call it. But that might have been preventing it from moving forward. No. I really do like tearing down vintage and outdated tech more. You know, stuff that's relatively valueless, but that's just a matter of curiosity. Because that stuff I don't care if I break. This, or even mark up. Like this, I really just don't want to even mar it. Although, crap. I might have actually marred the display cover a little bit. It's a little scratched right there. Well, it's okay. I mean, I was planning on using this as a prop, bringing it to the con in August and maybe future cons, so this was bound to get a little scuffed up in daily use, so I'm not too worried about that. I just, you know, I don't want it to look ugly. That side does not want to budge. And I really have to get this side out first, because if I try to pull this side up, the wiring harness is going to be in the way. Ah! Okay, it just kind of let loose. I think it was just another really tight friction fit. I mean, credit to them for making such a, you know, tightly designed device. Everything fits perfectly. Really high quality build. So we've got one large ass connector. What is holding it on this side? Did they glue it? There we go. No, just really tight. Okay. It's really latched in there. And the latches were on the other side, where I couldn't get to them from the back to, like, sort of pop them. And then we got another ground screw. Is that the one that's going to... Yeah, I think it's the one that was going to the foil tape on the other side. No, that is super long. Alright, so now we got the wiring harness liberated. So I guess I could just leave it in there. I don't have to take it out of this plastic piece. That's going to be a pain to thread it back through. Yeah, this is where we're at right now with all this stuff. But yeah, the wiring harness and this side piece is really all that's left in the back of the top, which I could just pull out, but there's no point. There's nothing really to explore here anymore. And then it looks like on the back of this PCB is sort of, I want to call it like a cage, but I think it's just to keep it against the back of this piece so that when you're pressing buttons or what have you, it doesn't push the whole unit in. And I think I'm going to need some, just keep from scratching the display further, I'm going to need some paper towel. Or actually, this is probably something I should have thought to do in the beginning. Yeah, if you're going to tear one of these down or open this up, I would recommend putting some painter's tape or something else on there first. Just so that you don't scratch it up, because I don't even know how I scratched it. It was probably just against the desk or against some of the other components. There's a little button here. I'm guessing that's the reset button, because there is a little hole right there, I guess. Is that next to the SD card? Oh no, it's this little hole down there. Ah, below the SD card. That's what it lines up with. Okay, and let me, before I try to get the circuit board out, let me pop these two. So these are the flippy kind. Yeah. Just because I do not want to put any torque or pressure on these. And it looks like I'm going to have to cut this tape as well. Ah, there we go. Aha! And that's the back of the display right here. It's got like a felt pad over it, an adhesive felt pad. I don't know if there's any real benefit to taking this off, because I think that's just going to be the back of the display module. I'm not going to disassemble the whole display module. So, because it's probably one monolithic device. Well, monolithic in the sense that I'm going to treat it that way. It's obviously made of many different components. And over here we have another PCB that has the 3 LEDs, the 2 buttons, and the D-pad. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say there's no circuitry on that, because I don't think there'll be much room for circuitry. It's a very small PCB. Seems just big enough to be behind this area. So I'm not going to dig that out. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. And in case you're wondering, behind this mesh screen, there is nothing. And so before we look at all the PCBs, there is one more to look at, which is the one in the battery compartment. And I guess for thoroughness, I will desolder there and there, because those are both the connections to the spring, well, both battery terminals. I was briefly considering getting my desoldering gun, but it has a fairly large nozzle, and that's a very tight area, so we'll just go with some solder wick to get that out of there. Hopefully, without damaging the plastic around it. Fortunately, it's not in a visible location. Yeah, the solder wick itself actually melted the plastic a tiny bit right there. Ugh, really tight in here. Now, I got off the main blob. The problem is I think the actual battery terminals are sinking a lot of heat away from that. Oh, and this board is actually sinking a lot of heat away. Is this like an aluminum core PCB? Because I can really feel the heat spreading, and it's got all these vias that are probably just used for transferring heat from one side of the board to the other. So I think a lot of heat is sinking into the board. It looks like there's also something soldered there. I don't know what that is, though. So what I'm doing is just sort of leveraging it a little bit with this tool, and then seeing if I can get it to move whilst getting some heat on there. Problem is I was able to push on this, on the USB port side of it, to get it to move down over here, but I have no such leverage on this side. There we go. So I think that's just a shield, and that was soldered to the board right here. And I'm not as good as the people at the factory because I did hit the plastic with the soldering iron just a touch. So, yeah, not perfect, but not horrible. And we don't have much on this board. I'm guessing charge controller chip. I'm not sure what we got at this end. Well, let's take a look under the microscope. So we'll get the PCBs over here and sort of everything else out of the way for the time being. Alright, let's start off with the battery PCB first. And there's, I guess, the one IC of note. And this is the one that I was wagering is going to be a charge controller chip, or battery management module. And yeah, that seems to be the correct chip. Alright, so if you're curious, that's the data sheet. And all the way on the other end, I'm guessing for thermal management purposes, to keep them as far away from the battery chip as possible. I don't know if they're, let's see if they're MOSFETs or something like that. Now, that looks more or less correct. Yeah. Yeah, so this must be it. I'm thinking because the pin count looks correct. And saying it's a MOSFET with these specs, yeah, and that does look like the correct part based on the pins anyway. And what about the other component below that? It is different. I'll get that right side up. I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that this is going to be a MOSFET as well, but alright, I don't know exactly what that is, but I'm going to guess another MOSFET. And then that's really it as far as major components go on this guy. And a couple of minor components too, I guess. And then this one's going to be quick. We're just going to see what that chip is. Yep, shift register. That's what I thought. Then I guess before getting to the main board, we'll take a look at this guy. And it looks like we got the TSSOP 20 package. And it's a 16 megahertz 8-bit microcontroller with a little bit of flash memory. I wonder if they're just using that to control the stepper motor. What is that next to as far as connectors go? It's sort of closest to this connector, which went to the disk assembly. So maybe that's just involved in reading those switches and reacting to them. I'm not sure. And then that's really the only large multi-pin IC on here. I'm not going to go through every little component, but I will publish a high-resolution photo of this board and all the other boards on my website, s.co.tt, after this video is put up. So if you're curious about it in more detail, you can explore for yourself. And now, of course, the, I guess, piece of resistance. Let's check out the main board. So first of all, I mean, this is just obvious with the naked eye. We got an ARM chip here. And I'm afraid this is the widest field of view I can get, but... So 32-bit ARM Cortex-M7, 1 whole meg of RAM. Yeah, and there you go. I mean, that's the particulars. On the back, we got a WinBond chip. Oh, it's an SD-RAM. Okay. And we have the -6 model number, so it's 166 megahertz. And there's the pinout. Alright, so I suppose it's a 64 megabit chip, so That means we got an additional 8 megabytes of RAM that presumably that CPU has access to. And then below that, we have another WinBond chip, and that's flash memory. Kind of makes sense to have some flash memory too there near the RAM. Well, anyway, it's flash memory. I don't think too much more needs to be said about that. It's 1 gigabit in a very small package with not many pins. That's cool. And just looking around the board, I mean, that's it for the major components, I think. On this side of the board, we got a little 8-pin chip, like, right there. Op amps. And here's some additional markings on the board. Version 1.1a. Serial number blank. Huh. So, yeah, like I said, I'll put photos of all these boards on my website, s.co.tt, and you can check them out at your leisure. Well, there's really not too much more to see. I'll try to take this plastic cage off first, but it's really not hiding anything substantial, or really much of anything at all. Looks like it was all very well designed, at least low chip count, seems well organized. So yeah, now that I'm looking at it, like I said, I think the reason for this circuit board even being this large in the first place is just to have additional thermal mass, additional heat sinking to keep the heat of these MOSFETs away from the battery management controller chip. But I did say that I thought this was for shielding because it was soldered on right there, but now I'm thinking this might just be part of the heat sinking, because I don't know why you would need to shield this. There's no electronics, no ICs, and no high-speed data paths underneath that. So I think this is part of the heat sinking. It's just taking heat away from the board from this solder pad right here. And is it an aluminum substrate PCB? Can I even tell? I don't see a particularly shiny layer, so maybe they're just doing it all with traces. Because it does look like it's a 5-layer PCB. So yeah, I think they're just spreading heat out through the layers. It's probably just large ground planes, or not even ground planes, maybe just heat sink planes. So yeah, this mess is the Wand Company Original Series Tricorder in all its glory. Now I just have to figure out how to put it all back together. Fortunately, I have the video to guide me. But yeah, well, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little journey inside of this thing. Sorry I wasn't a real guide on how to take it apart because I was doing this for the first time. I thought it would be more fun to discover it together, as it were. No discovery puns intended. But yeah, thanks for watching. If you're going to be at the Star Trek Las Vegas convention in August, 2025 anyway, in case this video is seen in the future, and you've actually seen this video, come over and say hi. I've never met anyone who actually watched one of my videos in real life before. So, that'd be cool, I guess. I'm not going to be dressed up in any kind of face-hiding costume, I don't think. But, yeah, till next time. No, don't salute again. Why do I always try to salute? That doesn't make any sense. Alright, bye everybody.